Please be seated. It's called to order the Wednesday, September 20th, 2017 meeting of the Lake Havasu Airport Advisory Board. I'd like to ask you all to stand now and ask the members of the 501st Civil Air Patrol Squadron to please post the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Wendy, would you call the roll, please?
Shannon Stebbins.
Here.
Lewis Worthy.
Here.
Dave McNary. Absent. Steve Huff. Absent. Brian Schultz.
Here.
Jeff Sayer. Absent. Shannon Hicks. Here.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is a call to the public, and this is your chance to address this board on anything that you have concerns about that's under the auspices of this board. I'd like to ask that if you choose to address the board, you approach the lectern, state your name, and then tell us what's on your mind. If it's not on the agenda, we do not have the opportunity to have a two-way conversation with you. We can correct the record if we feel that something is not factual, or we can ask staff to add it to a future agenda, or we can add it to a future agenda. But we would certainly like to hear from you. Do we have anybody here that would like to speak to us? Seeing none, the next item of business is approval. I'm sorry, go ahead, Tom.
My name is Tom Stokely. I have a hangar out at the airport and an airplane. I have a problem, and the problem is I have termites in my hangar. Substantial termites. I have discussed it with both the employees there who have discussed it up the ladder, and I was told that they will do nothing about termites. Okay, and just to give you a brief idea, I have a Bonanza. Anybody know much about Bonanzas? The floor of my airplane is wood. Not saying the termites are getting there yet, but they could, and I've been told we supply a steel and metal and concrete hangar. However, there are items in our airplane that could be eaten by termites. And I would appreciate anything you guys could do to address that. Thank you.
Tom, can you clarify that the hangar you occupy belongs to the city? Is that correct?
Hangar is the hangar 74. It does belong to the city. I do rent it from the city. Okay.
Wendy, can you include that as an item to discuss with the airport manager and staff?
Duly noted.
All right, thank you.
Do we have anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to approval of the August 16th, 2017 meeting minutes. Those were provided to you via electronic copy. I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and seconded. Anyone opposed? The minutes are approved. The next item is communications announcements and airport supervisors report. And the first item on that agenda is a presentation by the Squadron Commander of Squadron 501 of our local Civil Air Patrol, Mr. Ray De Leon. Ray, we'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, sir. My name is Ray De Leon. I'm a major with the Civil Air Patrol, Arizona Wing, and I have been the local squadron commander for about 3 years now. And one of the challenges that I have in the community is that people really don't know about the Civil Air Patrol. I get asked all the time, what is that? I said, well, it's one of our nation's best kept secrets, is what I've been told. But I kind of want to see that it be put out front and people see what the Civil Air Patrol is, what we do offer in the community. We've been active in the community back into George Molitor whenever he was very active. He was a squadron commander, a man I respect very much, that his love of flying and also commitment to the community. So just to give you a little background, we have more than 50 cap wings. Each state has a cap wing associated with it, and even in Puerto Rico and Guam, we have sections there. And then in our wing, we have 24 squadrons. Actually, we have 26 now. We just had one recently in the Navajo Nation, tribal areas. They just went ahead and had one. We have 14 Cessna 182 aircraft that the Air Force, United States Air Force, provides for us, and we are an auxiliary of the United States Air Force. And we have many pilots, talented and past and present. I know, Shannon, you were a pilot for us and a past member, Civil Air Patrol, so thank you very much. But all our regulations, all the things that we do fall under the United States Air Force. And we're currently under the, I believe it was the, it'll come up in the next slide or so, but it includes our uniforms, our cadets that you saw post our colors. Their uniforms are all mandated by the Arizona or National Headquarters, which also aligns itself with the U.S. Air Force regulations. Uniforms look very similar. The ABUs that they wear, which are Airman Battle Uniform, are very similar to the Air Force. Many of our cadets take great pride in maintaining those levels and those standards. So, Ronnie, if you could please, Vanna, next slide, please. So what do we do at London Bridge Composite Squadron? Well, what we do is we have a cadet program, and we also do aerospace education and emergency services at our program. Next slide, please. And we're headquartered out of Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama, and that's where we fall under the Combat Command, and we assist in many number of ways here in Arizona Wing, where we have our barrel cactus flights, smoke detector flights, and emergency services. Next slide will. The flights, we actually have to have flights that protect that southern border. So our little Cessna 182s go up, and Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, I don't know if many of you are familiar with that, but they have the A-10 Warthog and a lot of other destructive pieces of machinery. They're awesome, beautiful aircraft. And they have a bombing range right along there. Well, wayward hikers from south of the border there kind of venture onto the bombing range. Well, rather than put up military assets that are maybe $5,000, $10,000 an hour to operate, they'll send up a Cessna 182 with a crew, and they're spotting and looking for that to help protect the public or citizens or non-citizens for that matter. And then also we do the smoke detector flights, any potentially dangerous, or not dangerous, but just potential wildlife land fire areas, smoke spotting, that type of thing. They'll go up and they'll look for things in that nature rather than send up a C-130 to go up and look for something like that, which I wouldn't do. But emergency services as well. Here in Lake Havasu, we have many visitors that come up for many of the 3-day weekends. 2 or 3 OPEXs that we do, we actually work with the Lake Havasu City Police Department and the county sheriff and San Bernardino County Sheriff as well, out on the lake. And we'll fly maybe 15, 20 sorties a day. And we're looking for potential issues. We're looking for boater assist, missing hikers. We even have a ground team, and people were a little surprised. We have a dog that goes out and, it's a cadaver dog. And they go, why are you putting it on the water? Well, I guess, it can also smell the gases coming up out of the water. And so we use those resources and assets all at no charge to the city when we're up flying. And we have assisted many times to do that, to provide those services. So next slide, please. At our local squadron, we have 28 members that are cadet members, and they're usually young adults. 12 is when you can start and join our program, all the way up to 21. And the reason why that's such a huge age range is that many of them start out, they have a desire or like of aerospace. And we want to instill that love of aerospace in them. And we want to take them all the way through, not just after their high school experience. We want to take them on through their college experience. And thus the 21-year-old. Those are typically our college-age students that stay cadets. We also have a senior members side where adults are in the program, and they're 18 and older there. We have 17 members there. Currently, we have 3 pilots that we have in our program, and we have one of the board members that's just starting out, getting out there and coming on and flying for us, so we appreciate that. And we have credited two search and rescue finds in 2016 and 17. So we're pretty active again in the area. Next slide, please. We have 2 cadets that currently went on to college just this last year, a couple of years. We have one that just went to Embry-Riddle. He wants to be a military aviator. So he's going to join the Air Force ROTC program there. And another one is down at ASU. He is engineering. So sometimes we have the ones that want to fly, the others are land lovers. They want to make sure they're going to do what they can to support and design and build aircraft or something in the aerospace industry. 501, we received the Squadron of Distinction Award in 2015. The last one that we earned was like in 2001. So they're not easy to get. And the way we earn those is by staying active in the community, being out there and available for the search and rescue missions, and keeping our members involved in the community as well. We had one first sergeant. She's a Navajo Indian or native, and she is an amazing young lady and really took to our program. Very shy at first, didn't do a lot of public speaking, very, I don't know, lack better term, she just really didn't use a wallflower. Just stand there and do really anything you ask. Oh, yes, okay. Well, then she started to climb up through the ranks and became our first sergeant. Well, she really liked that, enjoyed that, and so much so that the wing recognized her for her talents, her leadership skills in the making her the NCO of the year. And then she went on in 2016 to be the Southwest region, which encompasses 6 Southwest states in the United States. And she was the recipient of that award for that year. And we also have an accommodation for the wing for participating in Angel Thunder, one of our OpExes that we put on down there at the southern border, operational exercises. So next slide, please. And you see some of the photographs that we take here. Cadet orientation rides, that's how we kind of instill that love of flying. We have our pilots, the senior members, many of them come from many different backgrounds. They get to actually fly 5 different powered flights, and there's a curriculum that they have to follow. And some will really take to it, and then some you'll see that they decided, no, I think the ground is good for me. Or others are like, I had no idea flying was this fun. We also have partnership up there with the Canadian Air Force. We had one of our senior members that put that together, captain, well, he's not a captain, he's a captain in the Canadian side. He's a lieutenant for our organization. And he helped put that together and and the cadets got to have a one-on-one conversation with the pilots that are training from Canada, the ones that came through here. And so it made that world a little bit smaller. They do encampments in June. So I always say that our cadets are the toughest in the nation, because you get cadets that are going out there in the 100+ weather, and they're doing things like, climbing rope, jumping things, and I would like to be in the air-conditioned room and just watch them, and I'll be happy. And then a picture on the right there, it shows one of our meetings that we're able to have there at the airport terminal building. So here's where we like to, this is what our cadets love to do. They love being up there. Whenever we had the B-17, the EAA, allowed us to assist them in crowd control and parking and some other different aspects of that. So, and then also Friends of the Fair and the Winter Blast. We also get out and we provide some of the crowd control. We're not really but just help out with different things. The Hangar 24 event that's coming up, we're going to be helping out with that, providing assistance. We're also, the EAA are having the fly-in, or is that the air race, 99s. The 99s are having a race that we're going to assist and help them with. We also have the open house, Lake Havasu City Airport, whenever that was up there. And then the Luke Air Force Base are really generous, and they allow our cadets to go into a flight simulator. They even allowed myself to go into the flight simulator, and I thought I was going to have to use some kind of maybe butter to get me into the cockpit there, but because I'm a little fluffy. But they said, no, we have senators that get into that thing, and it's no big deal. You can get into that. And it was a blast. It was amazing. So, and also, again, we want to push to our cadets community service. We want to give back to the community. NISA, did you go to NISA? No, which one did you do? Hawk Mountain. We have, I'd like to invite her, if I can just, Captain Mackenzie Mullahan. She's a member of our squadron cadet. So I'd like you to tell them a little bit about your experience as a Cap Cadet.
Okay. So as he said, my name's Cadet Captain Mackenzie Mullahan. I'm with the 501st Squadron here in Lake Havasu. And basically what I want to say is just that everything that he's talked about today, I've pretty much done. So he's not just saying this is possible. He's saying that if you put the effort in, if you join, that you're gonna get to do this stuff. So I've been in for about 3.5 years. I'm 18 now, so I've pretty much gone through everything. Now I'm pretty much just given back to the current cadets. But no, I did not go to NISA. There's kind of a rivalry between NISA and Hawk Mountain, but I went to Hawk Mountain. So Hawk Mountain Ranger School is in Pennsylvania. Basically got to learn ground school, search and rescue. So it's not just all about flying, but I've done flying too. And now I'm a private pilot, but I was able to get my start through CAP.
All right. Well, good.
So I highly recommend it. I don't have enough good things to say about Civil Air Patrol. I think both of us could stand up here and talk all day. That's how great it is. So join CAP.
All right, here, hold on. Thank you for saying all those nice things. Had to pay her. But no, we do love our cadets. We do like having them involved in our community. 3 years, and then she's already had that love of flying, and I know she's received a lot of support from people in our community, and I've seen that, and I've seen her progression from the time when she was 15 years old, and to see her now as an adult and at ASU here locally. I just wish you and hope that you continue to do a lot of good things in our future. So that's what it's really all about. Then the Gold Star Mothers, we help them out also here locally, the memorial event out there. So I want to make sure I give them credit. But if you want to come out and see what we're doing, every Tuesday night, 6:30 to 8:30. And if you have any young people that have an interest in flying or even a positive environment for them to go to and be part of, where they're going to learn leadership skills and network with a lot of young people that really want to do something and make something of their lives, we invite them to come out, and we'd love to have them part of our program. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it. And thanks.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions from the board member? I just have a comment,
Yes,
and
sir.
that is for any parents or grandparents that may be watching this on television, the Civil Air Patrol is a wonderful program for your grandkids or children, and it definitely gives a foundation and good citizenship, and it's all positive. There's nothing negative. So my thanks to you and to everyone that supports the Civil Air Patrol. Thank you for the presentation.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the Airport Supervisor's Report, and Mr. Clark will be standing in tonight, so we'll ask him to take the podium.
Thank you, Chairman. Before I get started with that, I would like to echo the comments about CAP. My daughter participated in CAP and graduated from here and went to Embry-Riddle and got an aerospace engineering degree and was lucky enough to be able to work at NASA in Houston for 5 years. And so that was an excellent program. Started her on her way there. So thank you very much. The supervisor's report, obviously I'm not Steve, so I won't get into any details. He did provide some written reports. If there's any questions that you might have about those, some of the topics are actually topics on our agenda, so we can chat about those. A couple little miscellaneous items. The electrical vault project award should be the first meeting at the City Council in October. That's kind of when that's looking like it'll happen. There's been some give and take back and forth on the professional services agreement, so that's what's taken a little bit of time to fine tune that portion of that thing. And also Steve had mentioned that the FOD grant, due to some grant resources issues that the feds and the state is having, that looks like it's heading into the end of the fiscal year. That's just related to the fiscal shape that the state and airport and FAA is in. So we're doing everything we can on our end. We're just having to basically wait for them to decide where they're at with that. But again, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have related to any of the items in the reports, or again, we can deal with some of those things as items.
On the electrical vault grant and getting the contract issued, are we going to be late in our timeline for that?
No, not at all. Actually, initially, I thought that there was a concern related to the award at federal fiscal year. They were only concerned with the paperwork for the actual grant approval. They were very comfortable with, sometime in October or November as far as the official award. But yeah, the federal process, they were mainly worried about the paperwork for the actual grant, which that was signed several weeks ago, and that's all been moved through. So.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is upcoming airport events, and the two that come to my mind are the Hangar 24 Open House Air Show, and that's November 4th, is that correct? And what's the date for the 99s Air Race?
The air race is the 9th through the 11th of November, so that following weekend. And the air racers will be in Havasu on the 11th. They finish in Havasu on that Saturday.
So anyone needs any more information on the air race, they can contact Shannon Hicks or anyone on the board, and we'll put you in touch with the correct people. The next items are public hearings. The first item is discuss hangar self-inspection and report on the meeting. I'll give you a little briefing and then we'll open it up for public comment. Hangar self-inspection came up as a fire and safety inspection, the checklist that the fire department provided. There was a lot of comments from the board last month, and we felt there were a lot of issues with it. I had a meeting with the fire marshal and the fire chief that was extremely productive. They were very receptive to the issues that we brought up at the meeting, and the fire marshal intends to make the next meeting in October and to come up with a revised checklist and discuss how we will implement it as far as the fire inspection checklist. This is different than the hangar inspections, which we'll discuss later. Any questions or comments from members of the board? It's a public hearing, so we'll open it up for public hearing. Do we have anyone that would like to comment on this issue? Seeing none, the next item is discuss proposed airport fees, and it's a continuation. This was discussed at our last meeting, and we made recommendations which the city staff accepted. I believe that the only fee at the airport that's going to increase is the dirt under the private hangars. And we can discuss a later date where we think we are on that, in order to make viable comments, we'll have to come up with what the dirt is under private hangars at other airports. Mark?
The only thing I would add is that the council meeting 2 weeks ago or whatever it was started the 60-day process, so you have plenty of time to comment as a part of that public process. That was just an introduction of the ordinance, and so you can contact your council members or whomever. This airport board could get some more information, so we do have plenty of time to go through that process.
Agreed. Absolutely. It's just the opening initial of the council's considerations. So I know that there are people here in the audience that own private hangars. I think that the proposal is to increase 2.5% on the land rent, and I would invite any of you to get up and speak tonight or to contact any of the board members offline, and we'll assist you with putting together documentation to present to the city council. So this is a public hearing. Let me open it up to comment from anybody in the public. Any other comments from the board?
I guess I would be remiss for not tooting Steve and Rondi's horn for actually providing the information to the council that or the administrative staff that did result in them not increasing those fees in those areas that were identified, because we did basically do some quick research, or they did, and determined that we're on the higher end of those fees. And so that was the information that staff administrative group looked into and took into consideration.
Absolutely. It's important to present factual evidence or factual information to the council. I don't think we can go to them and just say we don't want it to get higher. We have to come up with comparables, just like in the housing industry. So once again, if you have any issues with this, you can address the city council directly. You can speak with me or any member of the board, and we will assist you, or we will bring it back up at a future agenda on another board meeting.
Shannon.
Sir.
Mr. Chairman, I do think for the next meeting, we should put on the agenda that if they could get some comps for private hangars at comparable airports in the area, maybe Scottsdale, Deer Valley, or North Las Vegas. I don't know who has private on city dirt like we do. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, I think that it's incumbent on us to do that rather than to expect the staff to. So, we can work on that.
I'll do it.
Okay. Any other comments?
As far as the increasing the fees on the dirt, does that have anything to do with are the private shade ports included in that? Because I know there's some shade ports that are privately owned as well.
Without going to the exact document that was presented to the council, I don't have an answer to that.
That's a very good answer. All that information actually would be online. You would be able to look at the latest council meeting minutes from that time, and that each of those fee structures, it's got a S1 to whatever the numbers are. It will actually go through line item by line item, so you will be able to see. And I would encourage everyone, it's much easier to look specifically for what fee would affect your situation than it is for kind of staff to figure out all the moving parts to that. But again, that information is available online.
Any other questions or comments? Discuss development of a pre-accident plan. I asked for this to be put on the agenda because we had a off-airport landing earlier this month of a Bonanza that apparently suffered from fuel starvation. It landed south of the airport. And interestingly enough, none of the airport staff was notified. So that brings to be a lot of questions. Do we have a pre-accident plan? We as the staff, as the city, did we actually did anybody at the city talk to the National Transportation Safety Board for release? A lot of questions like that. So that's why this is on there. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, and I think that triggered discussion. Steve did talk to the responding officers and did kind of try and point some of these issues out. And so he will be a part of some of his duties. Will be refreshing some of the information related to those facts. And just like everyone's aware of, there's moving parts. As a part of that process, he realized that there have been actually some changes in the FAA contact lists and numbers and how they route things and everything, so that he will be working on that. And I think that would be a great item to bring back as an informational item in the future to the board, because again, it was interesting that the National Transportation Safety Board's process had been changed. You know, every time resources get cut, you shuffle and make people do dual duties. And so I think that was really what came out of that process. But yeah, we will be working on this item.
This is a public, does anybody on this board would like to make a comment at this point? It's a public hearing. Do we have any comment from anybody that's here this evening? Seeing none, I agree. I think my big concern was that we don't have too many aviation experts on city staff, and we do have some at the airport, and it's very disconcerting to me. I began my career in the U.S. military as an aviation safety officer, and the pre-accident plan is the cornerstone of military accident handling. So if I would like to bring this forward at a future meeting and continue to research it and to help the city develop a pre-accident plan if we don't have one, which I still don't have an answer to. Any objections? Okay, moving on with the agenda. Discuss ground vehicle parking in shade ports and tie downs. I'm smiling because this is something that shouldn't be in front of the board. We ought to be adults and be able to park cars without infringing on our neighbors' capability to park their airplane. Unfortunately, we have at least one person that is an occupant of one of our shade ports that thinks that his vehicle should be parked off the right wing and pulled so far forward that his neighbor cannot put his airplane in his parking spot. And I know for a fact that the airport staff's position is that there should be no parking that infringes on anyone else's parking ability. And they intend to put that forward as a policy. It's also staff's desire that there be a financial penalty for people that want to act like children and can't seem to follow the rules. Mark?
Yeah, we appreciate this opportunity just to get this out in the public. We think that there's, a lot of steps we can go through before we get down to the punitive actions. And matter of fact, this also created a interesting dilemma. We have typically had a lot of cooperation from the police department in towing vehicles illegally parked and all kinds of good things like that. Well, as a part of getting a bigger city and things growing, and you start getting into regulations and realizing that they don't really have authority for towing in non-right-of-way street situations. It's nothing in the Arizona state statutes that allow for that. So, you all of a sudden realize, oh shucks, that's something that will have to get included in city code and go through the process, just very similar to you see the no towing or the no parking signs and camel towing or whatever it is in a private parking lot. We'll have to develop those kinds of procedures so that will allow us, not necessarily in this instance here, but in just instances where a towing is required, that we've got plenty of proper notifications. And so again, we appreciate this public forum to get that information out. We'd much rather have these discussions occur in friendly or as friendly as can possibly be circumstances. But again, staff will be working on developing those rules and regulations that allow them to then do whatever they have to do in the future, and we'll be obviously bringing some of that information back to the board.
Any questions or comments from the board members? It's the intent of the intent of the airport manager to have a basic policy that says that you cannot park that in a manner that infringes on anyone else's ability to park an airplane or infringe on a taxiway, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I, for one, totally support that. And apparently this has brought to light some other issues that we probably need to come back and address at a later date as well. We certainly need the support of public safety enforcement at the Air Force when we come to the point of enforcing something that should be obvious. This is a public hearing. I'd like to open up to comments from anybody that's with us this evening. With the permission of the board, I would like to table this for a future meeting to discuss it again as we certainly we need to get something, whatever we need to do to get before the council, whatever code that needs to be in place to take care of it. Is there any member of this board that doesn't support the staff's position on parking that in such a manner it doesn't infringe on anyone else's space? That concludes the public hearings. Future agenda items. Brian?
I don't have anything other than I will research the private hangar
The
fees
fees.
and find out where we stand in relation to our local area.
Okay. Shannon?
I don't have anything.
Louis?
to add.
I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention the FAA standards for an aeronautical use of hangars, and there will be a meeting at the airport from 10 to noon on the 30th at the airport terminal. And the purpose of that meeting is for anyone that is interested to attend and to ask questions, make comments, et cetera, et cetera. Staff has mailed out a briefing paper with the policy and the meeting date to all airport tenants. Go ahead.
I did forget to mention Angel Flight West is holding Hangar 24. I believe it starts at 11 on the 30th. They're doing like a workshop for anybody that's interested. There's FAA safety officers that'll be present for wings credit, and they're doing some education on Angel Flight West as well. I believe it's out of the Los Angeles area that's coming out. They're expecting about 100 pilots-ish.
Does anybody have anything else? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion we adjourn.
Second.
Without objection, we're adjourned.